Hello everyone and welcome to the Mylio Photos Coffee Break. My name is Angela Andrew and today we're going to be talking about Photo DeDupe, which is the process of using the tool built into Mylio Photos Plus to find and remove duplicate images from your library. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's presentation. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this presentation, I want to make sure you guys are aware of some of the upcoming events we have going on. So if you're new to Mylio Photos or you just need a refresher, maybe you set it aside for a while and are trying to get back into it, check out Ready, Set, Go. Today I'm joined by Lori Rubin. She's going to be helping out in the chat. And she's also the host of Ready, Set, Go. And she leads daily live sessions twice a day. There's a morning and evening option. You can pick which one is best for you. And they run Monday through Friday. So I invite you to go to mylio.com/readysetgo and check out that program. It's amazing. And if you're just getting started, it'll give you all the building blocks you need to be successful. If you are a little bit further into your Mylio Photos Plus process, that's when you probably want to come to my live Q&A, these coffee breaks. Anybody of all levels are welcome, but typically these questions can range anywhere from beginning stuff to, pretty advanced technical questions. All are welcome. Live Q&A is just like it sounds. It's open questions about Mylio Photos, photography, family history. Anything within that realm is fair game, and I will do my best to answer those questions for you. We also have, like we have today, is our coffee break, which is typically a set topic, and it runs 15 to 20 minutes, and then we have live Q&A after that. Again, open to all topics, not just the topic of the day. I also want to let you know that on Monday, July 15th, we're going to have Drowning in Family Photos, a webinar with Rich Harrington. This is going to be a great presentation, so if you missed it last month, this is another chance for you to see it live. If that time doesn't work for you, we also have it recorded in the community. You can catch that as well. All of these webinars, everything we do, these are free to anybody who's using Mylio Photos or Mylio Photos Plus. So we hope you'll check them out. And you can always find a list of what's coming up here at community.mylio.com/events. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the presentation, which is cleaning up duplicate photos with Photo DeDupe. Here is what we want to get to today. And this looks like a lot, but it all actually flows together pretty well. We're going to talk about what Photo DeDupe is, how it works, how to access the tool, using QuickFilters to narrow the results, because when you get into DeDupe, if you're doing it on all photos, it can seem really, really daunting, especially if you've got kind of a mess to clean up. I'm going to show you how to make it more manageable. We'll talk about how to review the duplicate sets, how to take a look at those different images, figure out which ones you want to keep, which one you want to get rid of. We'll talk about the auto check tool and all the great options that are in there, how Mylio Photos gives you the option to merge metadata when you go ahead and clean up those duplicate images. And we'll talk about removing versus deleting. At the end, like I said, we'll have some time for open Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So Photo DeDupe helps you identify and manage your duplicate photos. It uses the size, the resolution, the names, and metadata of those images, making it easy to clean up your photo collection. So we have two tools in Mylio Photos that often get confused. We have Photo DeDupe and Photo DeClutter. Photo DeDupe removes and gets rid of exact duplicates, and that's based on the size, the resolution, metadata, and so forth. And it merges the metadata from the one that you're wanting to get rid of into the one that you're keeping. Photo DeClutter looks for similar photos, and this is best used for burst mode photos. So if you take a series of images all within a very short sequence of time, Mylio will automatically group those together so you can go through and pick the one or a few that are the best out of that group and get rid of the extra clutter. So they're two different tools with kind of similar cleanup abilities, but they target different types of images. So we'll go into DeClutter fully in another session, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what the two differences are. And today we're going to be talking specifically about Photo DeDupe. So how does it work? Basically what you do is you launch the tool. It goes and scans your entire library and generates a list of all of your duplicates. What it looks for. So it's looking for things that are the same size and the resolution. Also the same file type. So if it's two different file types, let's say you have a JPEG and a RAW file, Mylio will not see those as duplicates. So it's got to be the same size, the same resolution, and the same file type. They can be the same name and in different folders, or they can be different names, but identical files. Mylio can find those too. And it can also find matching files that have different metadata. So let's say you have a group of images that you've gone through and you've added face tags and keywords and things like that. And then you have a duplicate somewhere else that doesn't have that information. You can choose which one of those you want to keep. And later on, we'll talk about how you can merge the metadata from the one that you're getting rid of into the one you keep so you don't lose any of that important work. A couple things to know about Photo DeDupe and its limitations is that it only detects exact matches. So that's not going to find things, like I said, that are, say, a RAW and a JPEG. It's not going to find something that is, 3,000 pixels on the long edge and 2,000 pixels on the long edge. It's not going to see those as the same file. It has to be an exact duplicate. So that's something to keep in mind as you go through this process. And then there are a couple requirements to be able to run this tool. The first is you have to have Mylio Photos Plus. So whether you're a paid subscriber or you're on a free trial, both can use Photo DeDupe. If you're on the free version of Mylio Photos, you're going to want to go ahead and upgrade, either get a trial or a paid subscription to use Photo DeDupe. You also need to do this from a computer or a tablet that has access to all of your original files. That means if all of your originals are stored on a vault, you'll need to make sure that vault is connected to either that tablet or that computer in order for this process to run. If those aren't connected, what you'll do is you can still launch the tool, you can see the duplicates, but you're going to have these yellow borders around everything saying that you need to connect one of those drives so Mylio can actually fully test to make sure those duplicates are present and then get rid of them. So those are some things you need to know before you go ahead and launch the tool. So accessing Photo DeDupe. There's a couple of different ways to do this. Well, actually it's the same way, but you can do it from different areas in the program rather. So you can do it from the All Photos section, or you can go ahead and launch it from a specific folder. Now, since this scans your entire library, what you're going to see here is going to be a little bit different. Let me just go ahead and switch over to Mylio and let's do this. So I'm going to jump to my All Photos view here. And to get to Photo DeDupe, you're going to go to the tools icon here in the very left sidebar, and you're going to choose Photo DeDupe. What that's going to do is scan your entire library and tell you how many duplicates you have and give you a chance to go ahead and go through these. Now you'll notice here I have over 2,100 sets, over 5,000 files. That's pretty daunting. So there's a couple of ways to manage this. I mentioned earlier you can use QuickFilters, and I'll demo that here in a little bit. That's this section here. But I can also just cancel out of this really quick. And let's say I want to go to a specific folder. I'm going to go ahead and click on my Apple Photos folder. Let's go ahead and just open that up. And I'm going to go here into my tools again, choose Photo DeDupe, and you'll notice it automatically filters for that folder. So I've narrowed down what I'm looking at, so it's not quite as daunting. So you can kind of go folder by folder. If you enter Photo DeDupe from a folder, it automatically filters to that folder. You'll see now that I have 999 sets and 2,000 files, which is a lot less than what I did when I was looking at all photos. So accessing the tool, it depends on where you're accessing it from, and that's going to give you a slightly different view here. I can always click this off if I didn't mean to have a folder selected. I can just X that out. And again, it's going to go ahead and remove that and put me back to everything in my library. Now, one thing that you might have noticed here when I first launched Photo DeDupe, let me go ahead and go back out of this. I'm going to go back to my All Photos and go back in right here, is that it pops up here at the top, usually, with an option for what it's scanning. So what usually is happening, and I'm not seeing it for some reason now, is you'll get a little blue banner that pops up here in the corner. And that asks you if you want to search within this exact set or within your entire library. And it could be because I have my entire library selected. Let's go ahead and narrow this down by a folder really quick. Pin that. There we go. Scan scope. That is exactly what I was looking for. So this scan scope that just popped up here in the upper right, if you have your library narrowed, so right now we have it narrowed to the Apple Photos, you're going to get this option here with Scan Scope. So it's scanning my entire library, and it's comparing what's in my entire library to that specific folder. So the Apple Photos folder is being compared to the entire library. If I think I only have duplicates inside that one folder and I only want to limit it to that folder, I can change this to within results. And that's going to give me even fewer things to go through. So that means within my Apple Photos folder, these duplicates all exist there. So I can go ahead and whittle these down that much easier as I go through this. So that's just a couple of different things to know about. My bad for forgetting that you have to have actually something filtered for that to pop up. So let's go ahead and jump back over to the presentation here really quick and talk about using QuickFilters with Photo DeDupe. So we already kind of started touching on this, and that's where you can filter down and limit what you're looking at here to run the Photo DeDupe. So when you go ahead and launch this, when you have your entire library and you're looking at 5,000 files, That's a big job. That's probably more than any one person wants to look at any one time. And you want to narrow that down and do it in little more manageable chunks, which is what I like to do. And it just makes it much, much easier to kind of wrap your head around. So what I'm going to do, like I said, let's go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and pin my Apple Photos folder because I know that I have duplicates in there. And I'm going to change this back here to scan it and compare to my entire library. So there we go. If this is still more files than I want to take a look at, I could go ahead and change that to within results. That'll narrow it down further, but let's go ahead and use our QuickFilters to make this even better. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse down by folder, and I'm going to go ahead and just say, let's go by date and by year, and let's just look at 2020s. All right, that brings us down to 68 sets and 138 files. That's a lot more manageable. So now I can go ahead and scroll through these and I can pick which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to get rid of. So if you're ever looking at that list and going, you know what, I just don't want to deal with that many right now, but I want to get a few done, don't be afraid to go in here and just start whittling these down a little bit and get a few less results that you have to deal with. So there we go. Here we go. 6 sets, 14 files, totally manageable, especially if I want to go through there and take a look at them manually. So if you're looking at 5,000 files and you're wanting to take the time to visually compare all of these, going through 5,000 is a lot. Going through 6, totally easy. So let's go ahead and do that right now and just clean up this particular group. We're going to do this manually. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to review duplicate sets. So let's take this first set here. What we have here is 3 files that appear to be exactly the same. That's what Mylio is telling us here. Here's the file names here. Each one of those file names is the same. You can see which different folders they're coming from. So they're all coming from my Apple Photos folder, and they're in my iPad library, and this iPad library, and this iPhone library. I'm not entirely sure how I got that many in there, but they don't need to be in all of those places. In looking at this, I know just at a glance, I want to keep the one that's in my iPhone library. The other 2 are duplicates. I'm going to go ahead and mark those to get rid of. Easy enough. Let's go to the next set here. This one here has a couple of different kind of file names, and we do have some conflicting data. So this one here does not have an XMP file. There's no one tagged. And in this one, for some reason it tagged me. It really should have my cat tagged. And it does have an XMP. And this one here also has an XMP. Let's go ahead and assume for a second that this is the correct person tagged. I'm going to go ahead and say this is the one I want to keep. And let's go ahead and get rid of those other 2. And again, this is in my iPhone library folder, also iPhone library. They're all iPhone library. So they're all in the same folder. Let's go ahead and just keep one of those. Let's go down to the next one here. Now, as we go through these, if you don't want to see just the little thumbnail here, you can always double click on this. And this brings up a larger view of that image. So I can go ahead and take a look at these 2 images. As I click back and forth between them, they are visually indistinguishable. They should be because they're duplicates. If I go here and go into my info, we can go ahead and compare. And what I like to do is take a look here at my pixel dimensions and my file size. And again, these should be exactly the same. So I'm going and verifying that. That looks great. So there's really nothing here that is different between these 2 photos. I can click the back arrow here. And again, take a look here at which one I want to keep. This one has a category applied to it. This one does not. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that one there. So let's go ahead and go down. Let's do a couple more like this. I have one here in my inbox. And actually, it's in my Flickr documents inbox. I'm not sure what folder that is. And this one here is in my iPhone library. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. Let's go ahead and get rid of the one that I uploaded to Flickr. All right, here we have something here from my iPad library, my iPhone library. And this is an interesting one. So they're the exact same pictures. They have the exact same people tagged. One is in my iPhone library. One's in my iPad library. One has the 2250 file name. One has a 2250.1. So typically, I'd want to keep the one that's in my iPhone library, but I would also probably prefer to keep this file name. So it's really up to you. You can choose which one you want. It's really not a big deal. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and override based on what folder it's in and go ahead and keep that one. And you can see that the people who are tagged, actually, I marked the wrong one. I'm going to mark that one. And you can see it actually added in the people that were missing. So that's pretty cool. And again, here we go. Here's another image. Same kind of deal. I'm going to go ahead and say I want to keep this one and let's get rid of this one. That's it. So that's, as you go through and you review these sets, that's how easy it is to review. You can go ahead and double click on them to view them larger. You can take a look at your information here in the info panel, and that's going to give you a really good idea and a lot of confidence in this process. So let's go ahead and talk next about using AutoCheck. And there's a lot of cool features inside of AutoCheck that make this process simpler. So what I just showed you here is manually going through and doing dedupe. And because I just did this and I'm going to start kind of a fresh batch here, I'm going to go ahead and say delete those. And that's going to tell me how much space I'm saving, how many files are being deleted. And also here is that option to merge my metadata, which I do want to do. I'm going to go ahead and click delete files, and we'll let that run. You can always keep an eye on this. If it's a big process, you can go up here to notifications. You'll see that it's applying system changes. It's running dedupe. Because it was a small batch, that happened pretty quickly. And then you can always go up here to your notifications and see it finished deleting duplicates. We've saved 35 megabytes of space. That's awesome. And I can go ahead and close that out. So let's go ahead and relaunch Photo DeDupe and take a look at our auto check. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and make this batch a little bit bigger again and take a look at some of these images that are in here still. So this is from 2022 and 2023. We now have a larger batch that we're looking at that we need to compare. So again, we could go through these manually, or to save some time, we can go down here to auto check. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to just delete this one out of there for a second and restore this to the default. The default settings for 99% of what I do work great. I very rarely change these, but what it lets you do is choose what determines which one is best to keep. So you can say, yes, I want the editing to be considered. And you can say, I want that to be a yes or a no. So there's all of these different parameters that you can go through and check. You can also reorder them. So if the thing that you like to do is rate your files, and anything that has the higher rating, you want that to be the priority of what you keep, you can actually grab and drag that to the top of the list. So you can drag and drop, you can choose which parameters you want to choose, and it's all very, very flexible. Again, I find that the defaults work really, really well, and typically that's what I go with. Now, the other thing you have here is add a folder duplicates may be in. And this is a really kind of cool feature. So I can go ahead and add a folder. Go ahead and click on that plus. And I'm going to go back up here to my Apple Photos folder. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I want to prioritize the ones that are in that iPhone library. So this main iPhone library, if something is in there, that's the folder I want to prioritize keeping. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and select. And so now that's added there and it's set to keep. So that's what it's going to prioritize. If a file is in this particular folder, that's the one it's going to mark to keep. So that's a pretty cool feature. Now that that's in there, I'm going to say run auto check, and it's gone through my list of images here and it's checked those different images that fit those parameters and saving me that manual task. Now, I certainly can go through here and double check them, and I encourage you to do that once in a while. Spot check them, make sure the computer's making the right decision for you. Once you've done that a few times, you're gonna get more comfortable and have more confidence in the process. One of the comments I saw when I was looking through the community before we started the session was that somebody wanted to learn more about this because it's a little scary going in and feeling like you're gonna delete something and accidentally delete something important. That's why I encourage you to narrow it down to a small group, go through it and start with a manual check. See what's there. Once you see that those are actually duplicates, it's going to be much easier for you to go through and then try out auto check. Again, do it on a small batch of images and do it, if you're not comfortable deleting something, you don't have to. But this is a great way to go through it. And the more I've done this, the more confident I've gotten with it. And I now very much trust this process. And not only do I use it in my own library, I've used it in some of my coaching clients' libraries as well to help them clean up their files, because it's really an amazing tool and it does a really good job of getting rid of some of that clutter that we don't need. It actually will default on the side of not deleting something if it can't do the proper verification. So it's very conservative in what it will actually delete. So again, I've gone through, I've done the auto check, and now I can go down here to the bottom, choose delete checked. Again, in this case, it's going to save me 305 megabytes of space and 29 files will be deleted. And I'm going to merge the metadata from the one that I'm deleting into the one that I'm saving. So I'm going to go ahead and say delete files. and we'll let that run. So easy peasy. I love how easy this is to work. We talked a little bit about merging metadata. That's that little checkbox when you go ahead and you click into the delete field. You just make sure that box is checked. It is checked by default. And if you don't want it to merge metadata, you can uncheck it, but just leave it alone. And that makes sure that any metadata that's been added to either one of those pictures, that they get saved and merged into the one you're keeping, which for me is very important because that's not only my names, my change dates and things like that. That can also even be edits from Adobe Camera Raw or Photoshop or other programs that are saved in that metadata. That means that those get saved to the files that you're keeping. So I definitely recommend doing that. All right, removing versus deleting. This is the last thing here I kind of want to talk about. And let's go ahead and launch DeDupe one more time. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Photo DeDupe one more time. And down here at the bottom, you have delete checked and move checked. And let me go ahead. I'm going to find some different images here. And we're going to go ahead. One second, my mouse is being silly. Let's go ahead and grab this over here. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck these two. And let's grab something a little older here. There we go. So now again, we have 35 sets, 70 files, and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to run my auto check. I have that same folder that I already selected in there as far as what I want to keep. We'll run auto check. And now that you'll see my delete and move options are set up here on the left, and I can choose whether I want to delete my duplicates or simply move them out of my Mylio Photos library. So we've talked before about how Mylio is watching the files that live on your computers, and it's watching specific folders. What move does is it will create a new folder or allow you to put those images into another folder that is outside of what Mylio is watching. So it'll take them out of your library, but it does not delete them from your computer. So if you're looking for a very low risk way to do this, go ahead and use the move checked option. My caution there is that you still have those files on your computer. And if you say, oh, I will deal with those later, you're going to have to still deal with them later. It's totally up to you. It's not a wrong answer. It's just something that if you're really trying to get rid of clutter, I would consider going through and doing small batches if you're a little concerned about the reliability of the process until you're comfortable, and then move on to larger batches and still use the delete option because that's what's actually going to free up space on your hard drives and go ahead and really truly give you that decluttering experience. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and choose delete checked again. And again, it's going to save me 218 megabytes of space and delete files. Now you might have noticed that a few of those files that I went into DeDupe, they're popping up again and they're saying they're still there. The reason for that is, let me go up here into my notifications and you'll see here that a couple of things here says delete failed. Oh, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. You have 12 files, 17 of them that I need to manually delete. That's because Mylio wasn't able to fully confirm that those were indeed duplicates. So what it's asking you to do is go into DeDupe again, and you can manually delete them. So let's go ahead and do that. Take a look at that, and you can see this needs to be manually deleted if desired. So what Mylio is wanting me to do is go ahead and click on that. From there, I can go ahead and just go over here and click the delete file option here on the left, or on the right rather, or I can right click on a file and choose delete file that way. That's how you would go through and get rid of those. But what it's saying is Mylio does, check before it brings it into DeDupe, and it does another check before it goes ahead and actually deletes the file. What this is saying is it failed that second check. And as I said, Mylio is very conservative on deleting files and does not want to accidentally delete something that is actually important or not a duplicate. So in this instance, there's a handful in here that I would need to go in and manually fix. And that's not a big deal. Just consider that part of the process, and that's actually a safeguard in your favor. So with that, I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.